here. Another special dish of In the Ring with Kings with Mr. Marshall Kauffman and Andrew Foy. We have a lot going on with Kings Promotions. Just came off a big card in Philadelphia that we'll get to later. We haven't been on a while, so we had a terrific card in March that we want to get to as well. And obviously some big fights coming up on Showtime, and one gigantic fight that was announced, I believe, on Monday that we'll get to. We're going to have lots of special guests, Kalvin Henderson, Ra'eese Aleem, and I guess they're calling her the queen herself, Alicia Baumgardner. So we'll get to them in a minute. Marshall, I want you to kick us off here.
Okay, well, it's great to be back on. It's been quite some time. But, Andrew and I talked about it at the show the other night, and I think it's due time, especially with what's happening over the next few weeks with the big fights coming up. And, of course, they're all big fights, whether it's a 4-round fight or a 12-round fight. But we have 3 of our guests are all fighting 12-round fights in the very near future. So I'm excited about that. It's a lot to talk about, and it's going to be a good night on the air here.
So, Andrew, you want to just follow up with what Marshall said? Andrew.
Yeah. I'm just unmuting my mic for you. Excited for
that was number 249.
Yeah. Excited for tonight's show. Excited for everything going on with Kings Boxing. It's always great to come off of really good club shows. I mean, it's still my favorite thing to do. So to have that, and then in addition to what's going on the national and international scene, this is the most exciting time, for me with Kings thus far in my history with the company. I mean, I think we got close to this prior to the pandemic, and of course things went haywire, and but I think we're fully, back in stride again, and really some awesome things ahead.
I agree with you. Why don't we step back while we wait for our guests to come on? We'll start March 11th, Marshall, a tremendous show at the Wind Creek Casino in Bethlehem, PA. Great main event with Kynell Wheeler scoring a 73, I think it was about 73-second knockout. And I understand this is, I guess, somewhat breaking news that Kynell could be back in the ring in a big fight of his own coming up.
Yes, he will be back in the ring next week in a 6-round fight on the PBC card on the undercard of Stephen Fulton.
He's fighting, I believe, a 6-0 fighter from Uzbekistan. Kynell's been on a roll, on quite a roll. What's your thinking of that fight coming up?
Well, Kai can really punch. I mean, I've seen some punchers in my days, as you know, with Kermit Cintron and Julian Larillo. But I mean, Kai has that special type of punch and he has good reflexes as well. So I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I think he's going to go out there and score an upset, as they're expecting him to come in as an opponent. But I think he's going to shock them.
And Andrew, I guess you if you want to take this, and Marshall as well. The progress of 2 of your young fighters. One got a draw that night, Julian Gonzalez, as well as Quadir Albright. Both guys coming along very nicely. Marshall or Andrew, you want to take what you're seeing in those 2 young fighters?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I guess first I'd start with Julian. He did get a draw. He showed, in my opinion, he showed a lot of maturity in that fight. That was a really big step up fight for him. A lot of people would have probably said that was not really an ideal matchup for him at this point in his career. He's young, doesn't have as much amateur experience as some fighters just because of his age. But I mean, he showed me that he can compete with very high level competition in that fight, and I feel very good about him going forward, because I think that fight was, competition is not going to get much more challenging than that, probably for the next, I would say, at least 7 to 10 fights. That was a really high quality fighter. And, you know, he showed a lot in that draw. And then Quadir just continues to, in my opinion, be impressive. Every time we put him in a step up fight, I mean, he wins easily and in devastating fashion. And I think that, you know, to me, I kind of felt that was probably how he was going to be to begin with. I did see him fight in the amateurs a few times and was always highly impressed with him. And I think he's somebody that could be a world champion or at least contend for a world title someday. I think that's still, you know, years off, but you know, sky, I think, is the limit for him.
Real quickly, Marshall, before we get to your assessment, someone just popped on. Do you know who that was? Someone popped on and off.
I think that was my special guest.
Oh, well, whoever it was, I don't know why he ran away. So
probably got scared of the camera. Look at that.
Who? So expound on what Andrew said. I guess a question you have Quadir who's blowing all these guys out quickly. Is it tough for you to kind of keep the reins back a little bit and not rush him? I mean, what's he? He's a young kid as well.
Of course it's tough, Mark. I mean, but it's almost like we were in the same situation with Julian. You know, Julian was 6-0 with 6 knockouts. And so I had to put him in because it got to the point where certain guys didn't want to fight him. And certain guys that I thought would be a growing experience for him, like the guy we had for him at Wind Creek, Serb didn't want to approve either. So those are, you know, some of the battles and the challenges that we have in putting the fights together. So it was time to step him up. And I thought that based on the film I seen of the guy that he was fighting, that he had enough ability to beat the guy. And I still think that he does. Word was he got sick before the fight, got sick after the fight, went to the hospital. So said he was dehydrated. So, I mean, who knows? I mean, if we make the fight again, what type of Julian will come out on in that fight? But I think, like Andrew said, he showed a lot of maturity in that fight, and he's grown from it. And he's going to be so much better. With Quadir, same situation. It's going to be hard to find guys to fight him. I'm either going to have to overpay them, or, you know, fly him in from Brazil or wherever else, and hopefully Serb would approve him. So those are some of the challenges that I have in making these matches.
Now we have now who do we have on here?
Who just joined us?
It's DJ Check for me. How you guys doing?
Doing well. What's up, my man? How you doing?
I'm well. I had bad in there for a second.
We thought you got scared of the camera, Jimmy.
You know, Jim's one of the newest addition to King's Promotions. He dabbles in a lot of capacities. The other night he did a good job doing the ring announcing. I don't know if you can hear. Can you hear us?
All right, Jimmy, we're going to have to move on. He can't hear us.
So
has anybody else tried calling in yet, Mark?
No. Hold on.
Okay.
Someone's here now. We're actually now very special guest. Sometime later this year, date to be announced. One of the biggest fights in the game. Ra'eese Aleem taking Kelly Mayer. Ra'eese, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Marshall, do you want to ask the first question, Andrew?
Yeah, sure. I asked the first question. Alicia, how was your birthday?
My birthday was amazing. Just happy that I'm stepping into another year of life, and a year to break barriers and to make history. So I really feel good about this year and turning 28.
Well, you got an early. Well, let me just say something. You got an early Christmas birthday gift on Monday. Was that maybe the best gift you got in the last couple of days?
Yeah, I would agree. I think that's great news. I'm excited. That's probably the best birthday gift. Knowing that I get to beat up somebody I don't like, and becoming unified division.
And I'm going to let him ask the next question, Andrew. But I'm going to tell you this, Alicia. When we signed you, Andrew comes to me. He said, "This girl is not going to be a world champion. She's going to be a crossover star." So I'm watching the Tyson Fury pay-per-view a couple weeks ago, and I see a commercial for some footwear, and there she is, Alicia Baumgartner. So the first phone call I made was to Andrew. Said, "You were right."
Yes.
Tell us about that. About getting that commercial into national commercial.
Yeah, again, I'm very blessed. I'm thankful. I was able to partnership with UFOs, which is a recovery shoe, and it's perfect. It's great for being an athlete and really investing in what recovery means, active recovery. And I'm just blessed to see myself just having a commercial. I know that we have plenty more things to really tackle, and I'm just excited that this is just the beginning.
Andrew, floor is yours.
I just want to ask you a question, Mark, before I ask Alicia a question. Can you name for me one other professional boxer who's on a national commercial for anything that's not related to boxing?
Alicia Baumgartner, the one and only. And we got Kalvin Henderson now just joining us on us. Kalvin, Alicia, the theme of this show is all the great fighters, yourself at the head of the list. Kalvin Henderson fighting for the world title on June 4th. Hot sauce, what's happening?
What's going on, big dog, man? How you living? What's cracking?
Marshall, we got Marshall, we got Alicia Baumgartner, Andrew Foy with the whole gang on. Marshall, you want to say anything to Kalvin?
Kalvin, I know you're working hard. You know what you're going there to do next week.
You already know, baby. You know what time it is, man. We ain't playing no game.
Yep. Kalvin came to Philly for some good sparring as well and put in 20 rounds in 2 days.
Yeah, you know how we do, man. Have gun, we'll travel.
And I just want to say
Alicia been ducking me too. Alicia been ducking me. I'm trying to get that spark with Alicia, man.
Everybody has.
Just one thing I want to say, and right when he comes on, he's also a testament to, King's Promotions has probably run more shows than anybody in the last, what do we say, Marshall, 3-4 years? And
the last 5 or 6 years, Mark.
5 or 6 years. And, we ran a lot of fights at the 2300 arena, smaller shows. And Alicia fought on one. Kalvin's fought on several. Ra'eese has fought on something. There's something to be said about that, about building fighters and building them the right way, Marshall.
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. I mean, it's, there's a knack to it. And, I've learned from some very good people in the trade, in the business. So, but you also have to have the right athlete, and I think we're blessed to have the right athletes to get to that point.
Alicia, let me ask you this. You're fighting at the 2300 arena. Did you ever think that this day would come where you'd be fighting this massive fight that someone actually wrote on Twitter yesterday, there was more, and Ra'eese Aleem is now joining us as well. There was more tweets about your fight than Canelo and Golovkin.
Yeah. It's a big fight, period, right? So I'm just excited that I'm able to be a part of history. Yes, I did see myself being at this point of my life. It's just a matter of time. It was all about being patient. And again, just building. Boxing requires you to build. And I took the slowest route possible, but I'm thankful because I learned a lot along the way. I'm in this position perfectly at the right time. And there's just so much more to do.
And we got some more questions for you in a couple minutes. I just want to bring in Ra'eese Aleem, who June the 18th, fight Mike Plania live on Showtime. Ra'eese, what's happening?
Not a whole lot, just got back from training a little while ago.
Marshall, open it up for Ra'eese.
Ra'eese the Beast. This man has come through, has taken every challenge, and he's rose to the occasion. His last fight was the first time he hasn't stopped somebody in quite some time, but we're going to see that streak start all over again. and I know what he's capable of doing. I'm crazy excited about him, and he's going to be on Showtime fighting for the #1 spot for the WBO. So I know you're excited, right, Ra'eese?
Oh, 100%. I'm excited. You know, I'm looking forward to the opportunity and just going out there and being me. You know, I just can't wait. Countdown mode.
Back to Kalvin, I want to ask you the same question that I asked Elise, and I'm going to ask the same question to Ra'eese. We mentioned about Marshall and all the shows that he's put on, you know, quote, smaller shows at the 2300 Arena, off-Broadway shows, you want to call them. You fought the 2300 Arena, kind of got built there. Do you ever see yourself in the situation fighting for the world super middleweight title, you know, while you're, you know, fighting in front of 1,000, 1,200, 1,300 fans in Philadelphia?
Yeah, for sure. Kind of like what Alicia says about timing, you know what I mean? Building and making sure that you built the right way and built for these occasions like this. You know, we went into hostile territory the first time with the 2300 against the hometown favorite, and that just adds more experience and more confidence into your repertoire, man, because you know you can do that at that level. It's the same thing at the bigger level, just different opponent, different name. But as far as dreams go, man, you always got to believe in yourself first, but anybody else believe in you. So we always knew we'd be in a position. It's all about timing, and here we are. It's our time right now.
Same question, Ra'eese. You know, fighting in Philadelphia, you know, you got some great wins there, some great knockouts. Now, you're one fight away. These guys, Alicia and Kalvin, in their next fights, you're literally one fight away for fight for the world title. When you're, you know, fighting these fights in Philadelphia, did you ever think that was possible in these days and this day would come?
Oh yeah, 100%. I knew it was possible. I'm just very, very grateful that Marshall gave me the opportunity to prove myself. You know, it took a lot for me to get that fight at the 2300 Arena, and I just took it and ran with it. And, you know, like Marshall said, I've stopped everybody up until my last fight who was in my way, you know, but fighting there, it felt great, earning some fans in Philly, you know, a great fight city. So, yeah, I'm just very grateful for that opportunity, and that got me to where I am now.
Andrew, you want to, you know, you want to take the floor here?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, Alicia is already a world champion, Mark. Just so we get that.
I know.
So
But I'm saying the next, you know, championship fight. You know what I mean?
Well, I did. I want to make sure, just so our audience knows as well.
Terry, the most important thing is Terry Harper knows now, and Michaela Mayer is going to find out later this year.
That's right. You know, before I ask maybe Alicia a question, I wanted to ask Ra'eese a question. You know, I don't interact with Ra'eese as much as Marshall does, but I follow him very closely. You know, and Ra'eese, how do you stop yourself from getting frustrated? Because I feel like you've kind of been in this position where you earned the #1 spot before. You kind of earned an interim world title. It feels to me like, you know, I'm biased, obviously, but boy, I think you should look at that fight.
We all know I should have been had my title a few different times. I should have won the world title and defended it. But you know, boxing politics and people ducking and dodging, it just kind of is what it is. In the sport of boxing, you have to consistently prove yourself. You know, I have proved that I belong. I proved that I'm a champion, but I'm going to continue to do so until I get my shot. And, you know, it's like Kalvin was saying, and Alicia, it's all about timing. You know, it doesn't necessarily happen when you want it to. It happens when it's the right time. And once I get through Mike Plania, my time will be now.
Alicia, I have actually a question for you. What advice would you give to Kalvin and then eventually Ra'eese, you know, fight for coming in as a challenger, fight for a world championship?
I mean, my advice is, I mean, as they all know, you know, be confident in what you do, be confident in who you are, believe in yourself. I believe when you know what you're capable of, and if you really dig deep, you can accomplish so many things. You can surpass yourself mentally, knowing that, you know, you're the best. And no matter what, your path was set the way it was supposed to, you know, happen. So everything happens the way it's supposed to. So now we're all three in a position where we're still continue to grind and improve ourselves. So that never stops.
And I guess my next question for Alicia is, and I think this is the $1 million question: how much are you enjoying Twitter these days?
Man, that's an assignment right there, boy. Let me tell you. But it's great. It's great. It's building the fight. There's a lot of talking, but we know that the hands do the talking at the end of the day. So it's fun. It's a good laugh, but I'm ready to be in there.
Marshall?
Hey, look, I'm excited. I'm glad that everyone came on board. I'm really excited for to see how lives can be changed through the sport of boxing, and these three are going to be they're a prime example of it, and so it makes me feel good to be a part of their lives in this journey as well.
Kalvin, I mean, you're first up. David Morrell, couple weeks away, actually less than a couple weeks away. How are you feeling? And we're 10, 11 days out. How do you feel?
Man, I feel like I'm supposed to feel right now in camp, man. Feeling tired, feeling drained, feeling ready to knock some shit loose. You know what I mean? But man, it's a great opportunity, like you guys been mentioning, man. And we fully aware what we getting into, and we're ready to shock the world. We know we coming in as the underdogs, but that's how boxing works, man. Like Alicia said, he's gonna do the talking. Come Saturday, I'm gonna put my hands on them motherfuckers.
This past Saturday night, David Benavidez obviously fought and won on Showtime, and now he's saying he's either going to fight Plant, Morrell, or Jamal Charlo. You feel you're being a little not only disrespected by Morrell, but being disrespected by everyone in the super middleweight division, the boxing public?
I'm gonna tell you right now, man. They don't know what they don't know. You know what I mean? That's their ignorance. But don't worry, June 4th, they're gonna see that the hot sauce is real, and that bitch is real spicy, man. Better bring your milk.
That's a good one.
Got Marshall, Andrew, anything?
Go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, so I guess Kalvin, since you're on, your last fight on ShowBox was a great fight. I thought that your performance was, it was a great fight. How do what do you take from that, and what did you do for this camp? Because this is even an escalation beyond that, So how do you doing anything special to prepare for this?
Man, we had in regards to that last ShowBox fight, man, we had that motherfucker in the bag, man. And then something we can't control happening during the fight, but it showed my grittiness and my toughness, man, and fight and step forward and walk forward. Only one arm, you know what I mean? And it's a crazy ass sport. I'm the craziest person in the sport. But all that did was just gives even more confidence that we know, you know what I'm saying? That's trying to prove that when it comes June 4th. Ain't nothing changes but the name. The TV stuff, that doesn't bother me. The bigness of the fight, that doesn't bother me at all, man. At the end of the day, it's just me and him in the ring throwing hands at each other.
Ra'eese, just after Kalvin, collects his belt on June the 4th, there's another fight on June the 4th that I know you're not looking past what you got going on June 18th, but the fight on June the 4th probably affects you going down the line. Stephen Fulton, Danny Roman. Is that a fight where you believe that, should you win the fight, and when you do win the fight in impressive fashion on June 18th, you're going to get the winner of that fight?
Yeah, 100%. Like I was saying earlier, I was actually supposed to fight Rahman my last fight, and I was supposed to already fight Fulton, but it is what it is. They're fighting, so whoever comes out on top, I expect to fight probably before the end of the year, to win my first world title. But yeah, I'll be paying attention to that fight for sure. But I'm not looking past my opponent by no means. I got an extremely tough fight coming up, but I'm definitely gonna get past him.
And do you have I'm not going to ask you for a preference, but do you have a prediction?
It's going to be a tough fight, but I think Fulton wins it. I think Fulton kind of boxes, uses his legs. I don't really see it being a banging type fight, but I think Fulton I think he wins that fight. Marshall?
I agree with him. I really do. I think it's going to be a tough fight as well. But my interest. I'm excited for Fulton, but my interest, of course, is for Aleem to fight Fulton. Or the winner of that fight. I think Ra'eese has put in the time. He's put in the work. He's proven himself over and over again. and he has to just continue to prove himself until Showtime says it's time. Let's put him in there and make it happen.
Back to Alicia for a second. Obviously, humongous fight that took place. I know you were in the building with Katie and Amanda. Women's boxing, I think, you're right on the heels of that fight. Women's boxing is starting to explode, in my opinion. Do you feel that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Fights like this, fights like Katie Taylor, Amanda, they build the fight. They build the sport. I'm sorry. And these are the fights that we need, and the type of caliber fights that we need to really progress women's boxing. And so, me and Michaela's next to do it, next to put what needs to be seen there.
When you were sitting there at Madison Square Garden, what was going through your mind? Over 19,000 people screaming on their feet. The fight was amazing, but just as important, the love and admiration from the fans watching it around the world, the fans that are watching it there. We talked about, envision yourself fighting for a world title, winning a world title. Do you now envision yourself fighting on those kind of platforms with all these kinds of, 19,000, 20,000 people screaming your name and yelling at every move you make?
Yeah, absolutely. When I went to the fight, I was just sitting there myself, just knowing that I'm going to be in this position. I didn't know it was going to come, but I'm excited because it's the right time. And I just know that this is where I'm supposed to be. So yeah, I pictured it already. It's already played in my head. Now we're just putting the actions to it and making it happen.
Andrew, anything else?
No, I really don't. I guess maybe some of our young fighters for King's Promotions might be tuning into this, but I think it's important for people to know that none of the fighters on here necessarily had the straight and the easiest path to the top. Everybody has different roads, and Alicia has a loss on her record to a two-time world champion that she took very early in her career, and that's something that when we signed her, I was very interested in talking to her about kind of immediately, and I wanted to get her feelings on that. And I always thought she had a great attitude about it, which was it was a tough fight. I learned a lot. It doesn't define me, and you see where she is in her career right now, and I hope that our younger fighters and any fighters from anywhere can look at these fighters, as inspiration, and not just inspiration, but willingness to take that road that might be a little tougher sometimes. And if you got what it takes, you'll make it to the top. It might not be the easiest, but it probably makes you better in the end. And so I guess to that point, I would want to ask Alicia, you had your fight with Lanadadu. Maybe not a lot of people that aren't boxing insiders know who that is, but I know her as one of the toughest women in boxing. You lost a close split decision that a lot of people thought you won. How did that fight, what kind of confidence did that fight give you going to fight Harper, and now going to fight Mayer? I mean, was that a positive ultimately for you in your career? And how do you view it?
Yeah, I would definitely say that it was something that was needed. It needed to happen because again, we stripped like an old layer and grew a new skin, right? I changed a lot, and I know what defeat feels like. Defeat don't feel good, but I know what it feels like, and I know that I don't want that again. So again, that keeps me on my toes. It keeps me hungry, and knowing that again. With each fight that I step into, give it my all, really step into it, and make sure your outside life is at key, and so is your boxing life, because it goes hand in hand. And that loss really defined a part of my career, because now people are gonna see just another side of like who I am. And the only fight that they have, that fight in particular, they only have her highlight, so it's perfect. Like no one really seen the full fight, so but I'm fine with that. And so that just transitioned into the fight with Mayer and I, And I just believe people are going to just be shocked. So
to go into that even further, what kind of, I mean, I guess specifically confidence does it give you? Because she's a two-time champion at 2 weight divisions higher than 130, and she throws bombs, you know, and she never really hurt you in that fight, and that was like a war. So what kind of confidence does it give you going into a fight with Mayer, who's not a knockout puncher? Or what kind of confidence did it give you going into a fight with Harper, knowing that you've already been hit by people that can punch harder than them, and you know it's not going to do anything ultimately?
exactly. My confidence again is at a 10. I believe that, you know, Christina was my toughest opponent, and I took that on early. And just what I've learned and grown from that, oh, man, I'm just a completely different fighter. And the confidence is just at an all-time high. And it's a humble confidence because, you know, I got defeat from that. And I was confident going in the fight, knowing that I was going to win. You know, I took the loss, but I still kept my confidence and knowing that if I continue to work hard, I'll be back in position and I'll be even better. I'm just more mature in the sport of boxing.
Yeah, no, that's a great answer. And I mean, we've talked about it before. I just wanted to I wanted you to say it so other people could hear it. And I guess I'd ask the same question to Kalvin. You know, you were in a tough fight your last time out. It was a great fight. What kind of confidence does that give you going forward? Because Steen's a big boy. I mean, you guys are hitting each other with big shots. You know, it didn't seem like you took everything in stride. And I mean, I looked at that fight and said, that makes me more confident in Kalvin going forward, even though you didn't get the win. How do you, you know,
sure.
how does that make you feel?
Yeah, for sure. Kind of the same thing is that you take from each fight and you learn from each fight. And that one, like I said, we didn't get to show the world the real hot sauce on that one because of the injury, but we showed that we can still hang in there. We still got the mental capacity. And I hate saying how tough you are, man, because boxing is a smart man sport, not a tough man sport. But some of that goes to being tough too. And so we know we ain't no pushover, we ain't no slouch. So we just gonna take that into this next fight and use the experience gained in that Steen fight, like we showed the world, and take that into the next one with Morrell.
Yeah, it might not be a tough man sport, but you're only going to get so far with a glass chin, right?
Correct, exactly, man. You don't want to be labeled as tough, but you got to have some toughness in the sport, though.
Yeah.
I guess the same question. I'll just piggyback on Andrew. Ra'eese, you know, what's your confidence level going into this fight June 18th against Mike Plania?
Well, I'm treating it like any other fight. You know, it's like I feel like I've been training for a world title fight for the longest, you know, since I fought at the 2300 arena the first time, you know. So I approach every single fight the same. The intensity and maybe little things are a little bit different, but I'm confident. I believe no matter who is in front of me or the situation, that I can find a way to overcome and win. I mean, because at the end of the day, that's what champions do. It doesn't matter what happens in the ring or outside the ring. Champions find a way. They adjust, they adapt, they overcome. And I believe I can do that. I've done it. And that's what I'm about.
Alicia, did you? I know they haven't announced a date, but is there a time frame, a roundabout time frame where this fight's going to happen?
I'm thinking of maybe August. So ain't no telling, but I've been in the gym. I'm already 10 steps ahead. So I'm just waiting for the date so I can let everybody know because we're going to have a great crowd that's going to come out. Got a lot of people rooting for me and just people who want to see me win and beat Michaela. So hopefully we get something ASAP, but I'm thinking August time.
So we got at least 2.5 months of good Twitter stuff to go on. Marshall, do you want to ask any final questions to our championship guest here?
No, not really, Mark. I'm excited for them. They already know what to do. All three of them, and they spoke very well tonight. I'm excited for them, and they're going. Not only do they speak well, they fight well. And first one next week will be Kalvin. After that, we got Ra'eese, and then Alicia is up next. So it's going to be a fun summer.
So let's let each one. We'll start with Kalvin since he's up first. give us a final word before we see you in the ring on Saturday night, June 4th, taking on David Morrell for the WBA Super Middleweight Championship of the World.
Yo, man, God make no mistakes. And I'm excited to capitalize on this opportunity. I want to thank Marshall for help setting this up, big dog. We're going to make each other proud, man. We're going to go get it. So stay tuned.
Sure.
June 4th, come main event, WBA, and bring it home.
Sure. There you go.
2 weeks later in Marshall's adopted hometown of Houston, Texas. I bet you like that, Marshall. You have a quasi-home game there.
Yeah, how about it?
Ra'eese Aleem taking on Mike Plania live on Showtime. Big stakes in this fight. Ra'eese wins. He's going to be fighting a major fight like we believe this fall. Final thought, Ra'eese, before we see you in June 18th live on Showtime.
Man, I'm extremely excited. Tune in. You know, like Marshall said, I'm gonna get that knockout streak back on track. You know, it's gonna be a very exciting fight on a great card, the Charlo undercard. So tune in. You know, I can't wait.
And last but certainly not least, the WBC 130-pound world champion Alicia Baumgartner. TBA date to be announced. The unification fight is on with Michaela Mayer. You got the floor. Final word. And say something to her, too, if you want.
Listen, final word is, you know, make sure you come out and tune in to an awesome fight. This fight has been building and been brewing for quite some time. And the world is going to know who Alicia Baumgartner is. I'm saying that right now. And it's just on. I'm top dog at 130, and I will, and still, okay.
And I know you're not looking past this fight, but can you see a fight with yourself after you knock out Michaela? Do you see a fight with you and Katie Taylor down the line?
Yeah, I fight with Katie Taylor, Manus Brown, any top competitor in the sport of boxing. I want to make that fight. These fights build the sport. I'm a challenger. I love the competition. And I like just proving who I am as an athlete.
Andrew, any final thoughts for our three great guests that we have on here tonight?
No, I'm excited for all their fights. I wish them the best of luck, and I can't wait to see them all. I can't wait to see them all perform.
Marshall, I know I asked you. You want to see your great fighters? You want to see them off?
Of course, you're darn right. Every one of them.
No, I'm saying you're the one. You're the one to thank them for being here. See,
Okay.
This is host speak.
Well, I thank each and every one of them for their performance, for their character and their integrity, and what they bring to the King's Promotions banner.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Marshall and Andrew. Stay on. We'll stay on for a couple more minutes to go over our fight card. You guys can stay on. We're just going to talk about the King Show from May 20th. So, but Alicia, Kalvin, or Ra'eese want to go?
Yep.
Good night.
Good.
Kalvin, go get some rest.
You already know, baby.
All right. All right, you got it.
Thank you.
All right, later on. All right, Ra'eese, later. See you, Alicia.
Alicia left. Kalvin's. In fact, I'll kick them all out. So we just had a terrific fight card this past Friday night, guys. We mentioned Quadir, we mentioned Julian, and a couple of the other Kynell. The kid who's flying under the radar, who's not going to be on too many, not going to be flying under for much longer, is James Bernardine. Terrific performing night, defeats Kenny Robles, wins the NBA America's Junior Welterweight Championship. He's now 7-0-1, and he showed a little bit. He's been knocking guys out. He showed a little bit more to his game on Friday night. Marshall, you want to take that?
Yeah, hey, look, he's impressed me as well. When I first signed him, when Andrew and I talked about him, I just saw him as being a flat-footed plotter. Guys who moved on him gave him trouble, but he's learned, and he's learned to make adjustments through it as he's growing as a fighter. I still say his best performance to date was against Kevin Asmat, but he continues to grow. He really does, and he went into that fight that most people don't know about, that he went into that without his trainer. So that says a lot as well, without having the guy that you're used to that brought you along the way throughout the amateurs and the pros. So it says a lot about what he's done. So he's coming along very well.
Andrew?
Yeah, one of the things that's exciting about James is that he doesn't have a deep amateur pedigree, and he's one of these guys who is learning on the job. He's a little bit older, and I mean, James is a perfect person, to speak to when we're talking about, maybe having a bit of a tougher road, but he's learning. I think, I see different things in every fight. And, I think he's very impressive. I think he has some raw attributes that are, that really can't be taught. And I think there's other things that he can still learn to make himself better. And, the thing that's great about James and his whole team is that they've been very willing to work with us. Like he's accepted challenges that, I'll be honest, very few people would take. I mean, we don't really remember it now, but, I mean, he was willing to fight Jeremy Cuevas, 6 months ago, 5 months ago, and he took that fight on a week or two notice when things fell out with the fight he was scheduled for, which was like, a 10 times easier fight than that. And it's just the kid's willing to fight. And when you're willing to do that, I think his potential in the sport's really high, because, he has that grit, that toughness, and that willingness. And there's a lot of people in the sport that don't have that. They just don't.
Another fighter who's now 3-0 who won last Friday night is a kid who's I think he's going to be in a lot of exciting fights as his journey goes on. That's Tanjay Teasley. He's 3-0. He's had 3 fights. Were all exciting while they lasted. The last fight Friday night, he kind of had to dig down deep a little bit in the 4th round to win that unanimous to win that decision. And he's a guy worth watching. Marshall?
Yes, he is. He really is. He's and he's 3-0 in a matter of 3 months. But the thing about him is that he's not afraid of challenges as well. Just what Andrew talked about with Bernardin. We got him his first fight. It was a last-minute fight, which was back in March, and he fought a guy that was like 6'4" and weighing 147 pounds. Never seen him, never prepared for anything like that, and took care of business very quickly. And then once again, he was faced with a challenge in the second fight in April 29th against a guy that was a pro debut that had, double the amount of amateur experience he did, and was also a southpaw for the first time. And most guys that are just beginning, they don't even want to fight southpaws. And he took on the challenge and then ended up stopping the guy. And then this last fight, he fought a guy that had a big amateur background as well, and who was also a southpaw. And that's what made the fight very interesting. But he stepped up to the plate, and he did all the things that were necessary to win the fight. And he looks as though he has fun out there too, Mark. And that's really what I see different with him.
You have anything on Tanjay Teasley, Andrew?
Yeah, I would just say that everything Marshall said, I agree with. That last fight could have honestly been a showbox fight. I mean, that was such a high level fight, and that was such a good competitor that he faced. And I mean, that was just a tremendous fight to see 2 early career guys going at it like that. And I certainly thought he won the fight. It was a very close fight, but I thought he won it. He got the decision, and it was all good. But man, I mean, Marshall, can you remember a better fight between 2 guys that are, in that early in their career in a 4-round fight? I mean, I'm just thinking of all the things that we've done over the last 5 years, and I can't think of one.
Yeah, it's hard to remember, especially for me, because there's been so many. But hey, look, it was a great fight. It really was. And the fact that you had 2 undefeateds fighting each other says a lot about both guys that were willing to step it up. But it was a good fight, and like I said, Tanji looked as though he was having fun out there. You know.
And they went to war. I mean, they went to war. I mean, they were toe to toe for every second of every round of that fight. I've never seen Greg Serb take pictures or video at a fight before, and he was videoing that fight. I think that tells you the level and the quality of the fight.
And finally, a guy I like to call is all reliable. James Martin got in there, won a 4-round decision over a tough kid from Poland. Guy Marshall, another guy not afraid, fought Milnicki, fought Joey Spencer. Is the plan now to get him another local fight, or are we going to throw him right back in there with a tough up and comer again?
No, he's actually fighting June 4th.
Okay.
He's fighting June 4th in Texas, and he's fighting an undefeated kid, 8-0, and so which I believe that James has fought much tougher opposition, and I think James is going to come out victorious. I love to see him at 47 instead of 54, but they just feel more comfortable at 54 right now. So, but the kid has skills. I just he went through a hard time by losing his father and whatnot, and but now he's back, and we'll see what he does come June 4th.
Anything to follow up, Andrew?
No, I would only say that I agree with Marshall. I'd like to see him back at 47. Ultimately, I think he'll have more success there.
And Andrew, why don't you give your final thought before I give Marshall his final thoughts? And what we heard about all the title fights, everything, big Showtime. We discussed some of the young kids coming up. What just stir it all up for us, and what are your thoughts, everything going on with King's Promotions?
So, I think I mentioned this at the beginning, but, this is the most excited I've been for things going on with King's Promotions since before the pandemic. I mean, we were really on a hot streak there, and, kind of the world got turned upside down on everybody. It seemed like for a time there that maybe things weren't going to work out as far as the boxing business went. But I feel like we're catching our stride again. The shows that we've put on this year, from the Showbox show in Florida to the show at the Wind Creek Casino, the shows at the 2300, I think they've been great. In particular, I don't enjoy every boxing show I'm at anymore. It's kind of one of the things that comes along with doing this as a business. Some of the enjoyment tends to be lost, but I enjoyed this show at Wind Creek Casino and this last show at 2300 more than I've enjoyed shows in person for a long time. I think we just have a great crop of young local fighters. And then what's going on with, our fighters like Alicia, Ra'eese, Kalvin. I couldn't have really asked for a whole lot more, to be honest, when I joined this company, and it's fantastic right now. And they're still making the fights is hard. I know Marshall puts all the work in when it comes to that. It's hard and getting harder, but we're finding a way, and just the quality of what we're doing right now, I think, is as good as it's ever been, and I'm really excited about that.
Marshall, I got a quick question from L-Dub Boxing. Is Ra'eese's fight with Plania an IBF eliminator?
WBO
eliminator. So there you go. So let's just segue to you. Marshall, wrap it up.
Hey, look, Andrew said it best. I mean, look, those fights that he talked about at Wind Creek and 2300 were very exciting, and it's been an active year already, as it was towards the later part of last year as well. Knowing that we did the show box with Kalvin Henderson on in July, and then this year we had that show at the Caribe in Orlando, Florida, and then the shows at Wind Creek and 2300. Look, I mean, it's been fun, but I feel like we're at an all-time high right now from what we've been at in the past. Just the fact that we have a world champion fighting for unification fights in Alicia, which is very, very special. We have Kalvin, who's fighting for a world championship next week, which is very special. And then we have Ra'eese, who should have been fighting for a world title 6-7 months ago, 8 months ago. But like he said, he's being patient and he'll get his opportunity. And so it's an exciting time right now, Mark, for King's Promotions and what's going on. And, you know, we have these other young prospects coming up, and our job is to keep them busy and put them in position for them to make their TV debut, you know, whether it comes through Showbox or where it comes from, but or, you know, PBC of some sort, whatever it may be. But it's an exciting time for King's Promotions. It really is.
I know you were working on a couple of dates. Are you at liberty to announce any dates yet?
Yes, that we have of right now. Still contemplating doing a show in the summer in Houston, but as of now, we're September 23rd at the Wind Creek Casino. We'll be back there. Then we have October 1st at the 2300 Arena. And then I want to say it's November 19th back at the 2300 Arena as well.
There you have it. It's going to be a busy summer, shaping up to be a busy fall, and very possibly a busy winter as well. King's Promotions. I want to thank Alicia Baumgartner, the WBC super featherweight champion, Kalvin Henderson, who'll be fighting for the WBA super middleweight title, and Ra'eese Aleem, who's fighting on June 18th, and he will be fighting for the 122-pound world championship later this year. Marshall, Andrew, thank you very much. Again, another fantastic show for us, and guess we'll talk to everyone soon. Hold on. Say that. Sorry, Marshall, I had you on mute. What'd you say?
I said, thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
See ya.